My name's Quinn Keck, and I am a bookmaker, printmaker, and multidisciplinary artist. My print practice currently primarily focuses on letterpress and monotypes, and my artist books use their form and layers to talk about the stories behind concepts in philosophy, history, math, and physics. When learning letterpress in 2023, I started out with like handset type, and many thanks to the places I learned at SF Center for the Book, In Cahoots Residency, and the Aesthetic Union. The Daredevil lockup pictured here was one of the first I ever did on my own, and many thanks to Macy at In Cahoots, who was kind enough to indulge my desire to do curve type despite very limited experience. Ultimately, I found polymer plates to be an exciting way to use my drawings and develop a kind of taxonomy of icons that turned into prints like the one on the left and then carried over to my artist books. So in my books, I'm very interested in expanding beyond the 2D plane. So this book in particular is made of letterpress prints on Swarthmore and vellum that are cut out, folded, and manipulated so that the viewer encounters the question, where is your gaze, from multiple perspectives. And also the where is your gaze text is my own handwriting, which I always thought was kind of like a fun twist on letterpress. In my book projects, I'm really interested in combining form and function to tell new stories and open different perspectives. And so this is one such project that was printed while I was in residency at Women's Studio Workshop in Rosendale, New York, which explores the historical ties between witch hunts, colonialism, and capitalism on 13 triangle-shaped pages, and the book's dimensions and page numbers all have significance. When I was trying to develop this project, it was really helpful to use my associations with numbers to figure out how to lay out the book and how to organize different stories on such a wide topic. And ultimately, with this project, I hope to inspire readers to question the differences between slogans, sentences, and spells, and really examine the narratives that shape their reality. And card shuffling divination has been something that's always fascinated me, so naturally this turned into making books with cards as pages and decks. So the one pictured here on the right has gone through many iterations and versions. It contains quotes that changed my worldview from people who fought for collective liberation. And my kind of favorite one sentence definition of collective liberation is freedom for all groups, recognizing that oppression is intersectional and that all our oppressions are tied together. These decks have also expanded to participatory pieces that explore ritual. So these are a few examples from over the years. In these, people will either draw from decks I created and or leave their own quotes that inspired them or shaped their worldview. And then the latest version of this is words as spells, spells as words, and this is an oracle deck. Many people, when they think of pulling cards, are often thinking of tarot decks, and the only difference is just that tarot decks have predetermined suits and the major and minor arcana, while oracle decks are more freeform. Uh, Tarot decks are definitely what I first encountered and I enjoy a lot and started pulling cards from. And when I started pulling cards from tarot decks, I didn't really question where like the structure of the tarot came from. And a lot of the guidebooks that I was reading to figure out how to interpret spreads treated the structure of tarot as like a given, providing little historical context. So naturally, that got me pretty curious. Um, so if a guidebook does include any history, the common tropes will include things like tarot was just a game before it was used for divination, or tarot was an invention of Italian nobles or French nobles, or Arthur Edward White wrote the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, and that really popularized it, and modern decks are all riffs on this. In the reality, like most things, the actual histories of tarot are much more complex and don't fit into a nice, neat timeline. For example, all playing card decks with four suits and court cards are derived from Molmec decks created in the Molmec Empire around the like 12th and 13th century. And while European nobles did create tarot decks like the one pictured here, that's the oldest one preserved, those ideas didn't come out of nowhere. The Roma arrived in Europe around the same time tarot decks appeared in Italy, and the Romani people in the past and present have been met with a lot of persecution, so fortune telling was one of their survival traits, so very much not just a casual parlor game. And still to this day, their culture is rarely acknowledged and their oral history is dismissed. And for more information, please check out the work of living Romani authors like in the book above. And while, yes, our European occultists published many books like The Unknown World, they definitely didn't cite all their sources. And in the even this like very iconic deck, writer and weight are the names of the author of the guidebook and the publisher of the deck, not the illustrator, whose everyone's illustrations really recognize and are seen associated with this deck. Her name is Pamela Coleman Smith, and despite the enormous popularity of this deck, she only ever received a one-time modest payment. Her name was left off the box, and she died in relative obscurity. And modern tarot decks draw from all of this and many other lineages, both known and unknown, in their author's own context. So currently for small plates, I'm working on a tarot deck that maps the stories of the quantum revolution in physics to the major arcana. This is being printed right now, so these are some images that are going to be made into polymer plates. And in researching physics equations, I found a lot of parallels to what stories are told and not told in both the history of tarot and the history of physics, which is really the inspiration for this deck. And so to close, I want to highlight one story. This woman is Emmy Noether, a woman who Einstein himself called a genius. And despite this, she was not admitted to a university or allowed to be a professor until after she published the paper with this theorem in 1918 because she was a woman. And even once she was a professor, she wasn't paid for a lot of her tenure. Modern physicists almost universally say that Noether's theorem is one of the most important theorems in the 21st century and really foundational to all of quantum physics. And if anyone's a physics nerd out there, it led directly to the discovery of quarks and even the infamous Higgs boson. So I hope this one story kind of inspires you to continue to learn more about stories like these. And if anyone's interested, you can pick up a copy of this deck from June from SF Center for the Book. And if anyone happens to be near or in the Bay Area, the Small Plates publication party is on June 19th. So thank you so much for your time. I know I said a lot of things, so if anyone's curious and learning more, there's a doc here, and you're also welcome to reach out. Thank you.